The information provided on Dr. Tom Roselle Live by Dr. Tom Roselle, D.C., interview guests, show co-hosts, or substitute hosts is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. It is for general information purposes only. Information from this broadcast should not replace the appropriate consultation and examination process by a licensed physician. Always consult your own physician prior to changing any current medical directive or prescription.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. We're doing another episode of Ageless Health Livestream with yours truly, Dr. Tom Roselle. Got a good program for you today. It's kind of a synopsis of some of the things that we've been talking about over the last few weeks and leading into our in-house continuing education program at the Roselle Center in Fairfax, Virginia. It's going to be coming up very shortly, October the 22nd, Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. And we're going to be tag teaming as we normally do, but we're going to be talking about a very important subject: your ability to stand tall, tight, strong, with a lot of energy, and to be able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, no matter what. But, if you're burned out and you're tired of being tired, this is an opportunity for you to really get it, to understand it, to really, realize that it's not about not enough caffeine. It's not about your bullets that you take or any of those other things. There's a reason why this is accumulated over a period of time. But let's get into the program and kind of look at that. I'm just exhausted. I can't get going. I don't know, how to handle it. I'm depressed as hell. Why is that? Why am I so beat up? Why is my body breaking down so much? So we're going to kind of pick the pieces together leading into, as I said, October the 22nd, 6 p.m. I'd really like to meet you all. So, if we've never said hey to each other, why don't you register, go online, and do it today right after the program, or while you're sitting here during the program, take your phone out and get it done. Go to rosellecare.com or go to drtomroselle.com, or simply in front of you, you know the drill, click it and get it done. And I promise you, we'll have some fun. And that night, any questions that you may have, we'll answer them. We'll give you the information. We'll show you what to do. And this is an important thing, because so much of what happens to us in this world relative to disease processes are kind of led into, there's a prodromal, and it's called, I'm wiped out, I'm tired, this is not like me, I don't know what to do. So let's get into the process just a little bit. And I think that you're going to find, say, oh my gosh, right? So if we had common finger pointing symptoms, say, okay, what is it that the adrenal fatigue pattern, that persistent fatigue, those mood swings, the cognitive slowdowns, you're craving salt and sugar constantly. And by the way, fat goes into that too. You get a fat tooth, you get a salty tooth. And, I asked the question you've heard me say many times before, when a patient says, or I ask them the question, do you like chips? They say, yeah, absolutely. I said, what happens if I gave you a bowl of chips, corn chips or potato chips, but there's no salt on it? Would you like them? And they look and say, I don't think so. See, it's the salt that you want, right? So let's talk about some of the symptoms, if you will, of this burnout, of this adrenal shutdown, this fatigue pattern. One of them, obviously, is the craving of salts and sugary food, but also fats. Now, persistent fatigue, that means you're always in a fog. There's nothing that you seem to do that snaps you out of it. You're drinking, 10 cups of coffee a day, and it lasts for a nanosecond. More coffee you drink, the worse it seems to be on the other side. You get up in the morning, it takes you forever to get yourself going. So those of us who have, experienced this extreme fatigue, this tiredness, it doesn't improve with rest. We go to bed at nighttime, we start parking ourselves down. It doesn't seem to clear up. Specifically, when you wake up in the morning, as we said, and it's not only that you don't have the energy like you used to have, but you're foggy headed. You're not even sure what to do and where to go and so forth. And then as the day goes on, you get these crashes. You might get a blurb of feeling pretty decent, and then you drop down. Now, here's the cognitive piece. And this is one that, particularly living in high stressed areas like Washington, D.C. or New York City, or any place that there's over the top stress levels, as we have, unfortunately, so much in today's world, we're finding that we have the inability to stay centrally focused. It's almost like we weren't ADD before, but we are now. And why is that? Why are so many of us reporting difficulties in concentration? We can call it brain fog, right? But it really comes down to a place we can't function and we're not being able to produce what we know we should be able to produce at our time in life. Say, well, that's, people that are in their 90s feel this way. God willing, they live that long. But how about those of us that are in our productive years and we're starting to move and we're starting to go? When your brain has had it and you can't stay centrally focused, it's not because you're getting old age dementia. It's not because of anything other than maybe that fight flight system, that adrenal system is toast. It burned out. You pushed it to beyond its situation. Now, on the 22nd, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a lot of those things that are leading up to that. How about mood swings? You used to be pretty level-headed, right? Everything is kind of cool, and you'd bounce off of different types of patterns, but now all of a sudden, any little thing, you're in extreme irritability and anxiety and depression. I mean, you just go boom. Your fuse is gone, and it's like before you could light the fuse and throw the firecracker out there and you'd be okay. I got to be careful when I say firecrackers today because it's not too many people doing stuff like that. But let's get back to the program. But here's the deal. You don't have the ability to hang in there. Now it's like, boom, it's instantaneous. And that anxiety that goes afterwards, that depression that is accompanied with it seem unrelenting. And then you go to the doc and they put you on SSRIs or other type of tranquilizers, or you're looking for a natural thing to do and take the edge off. In most conditions, most situations, that's an adrenal wipeout. It's an adrenal fatigue pattern. And it's one that's been building up slowly over a period of time, but we've ignored it. The stress patterns of life, putting up with pain patterns that just never go away. So we take all kinds of NSAIDs, the Advils and all those things. Then what? On top of that, stress and biochemistry, all the things that surround us, the things that we're eating that we shouldn't be touching, all the things that we need more of, like proteins and minerals and things like that we definitely don't get enough of. So when you put that piece together relative to the triggering mechanisms and you say, wow, that is me. Could it really be doing that to me? The short answer is you betcha. So wouldn't it be great to be able to turn that around? So what happens if our sleep is interrupted? How many of you at nighttime go to bed with wearables, right? You want to look at your heart rate, you want to look at your breathing pattern, you want to see what happens in the middle of the night, but you wear them and wear them and wear them, regardless of what it says. You don't even use them to go do something about it. You just worry constantly. You're in a constant state of, oh my God. So if that's the case, if you're constantly worrying, do you think that it might not have an input negatively in your body? Well, I'm here to tell you that it is. So take those things off. Get rid of your cell phones. Get them away from your head. The electromagnetic fluxes are also causing problems. So little things you could do like that. One of the things that most people don't understand, whether it's a wristwatch with a battery, I never wear a watch. I don't wear wearables ever. And the reason for that is because the acupuncture channels that run through the arm can be affected by those batteries, particularly the Bluetooth technology. Think about it. Do you go to bed with those, earbuds in? And you say, well, I'm just listening to music, so I could put, well, guess what? You're also frying your brain. I'm here to tell you that any electromagnetic field that you are constantly being exposed to is reprogramming you and reorientating your electromagnetic pulse rate of your brain. And then all of a sudden you wonder why, you can't focus. You wonder why that you're addicted to your phones and your games and all those things. Seriously, you think that I'm being, kind of on the edge here, but these issues are true, they're documentable, and you really need to be aware of them. How many of you go to bed and the room has light in it? It's not, you're a cave animal when it comes to sleeping at night. It needs to be black. It needs to be cool. And you stay warm by just putting blankets up or curling up next to your partner, whatever you're going to do that, but not heat. It needs to be cool in the room. So get rid of the incoming fluxes of your electromagnetics, make sure the room is cool. And guess what? Make sure before you go to bed that you've had a little protein, not something sugary, not those 2, 3 cookies while you're watching television or a bowl of ice cream or something in that neighborhood. You want to get maybe, some nuts without any, any salt in it. Okay, put a little sea salt in it, but not much. But you want to get an egg, a hard-boiled egg, or an ounce of protein about an hour before you go to bed. Just doing that will begin to modify your sleep cycle and your sleep habit. And you might find out that you even wake up without a lot of discomfort or less discomfort than you had. Those mood swings, right? So mood regulation is becoming a challenge for so many people today. And the problem is that it leads to not only the anxiety and the depression, but constant anger and irritability. It's like you don't have any tolerance for anything else. In the world that we're in today, if we're not tolerant and we're not willing to have a discussion with somebody else and accept that they may be different than who we are, we go into crazy. We go into, I want to rip your head off. Now, please don't do that. But the point of it is that those are some of the triggers that can lead to all kinds of uneasy civil disruption on a lot of different levels. So understand that if you're showing any of those signs that you're hair triggered all the time, it could very well be simply that your adrenals are hacked. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. We talked about the craving of foods, specifically salty foods and fatty foods and things of that nature, sugary foods. And again, I started into the program talking about caffeine, a need for caffeine or other stimulants, if you will, throughout the day is one of those things that just doesn't show up. I mean, if your adrenal system is working well, if you get a cup of coffee, if you get a really strong cup of tea, if you put a piece of chocolate, chocolate, yeah, chocolate's got caffeine. And instead of eating the whole damn bar, you get yourself a little like that much and, a little cup of green tea and sit there and relax a little bit. That's good for you, providing that it's not something that's constantly having to be repeated every hour on the hour throughout the day. Now, here's the other piece. How about your immune system not working the way it's supposed to? A compromised immunological response is often directly related to adrenal insufficiency or adrenal fatigue. Now, if you're always getting sick, no matter who has what, you're going to come down with it. By the way, the mask is not going to protect you. You're locked up in your car with the windows up. I still can't believe people are still doing that, but they are. And unfortunately, it takes place. So if that's true for you, if that's the deal, then I can almost tell you 100% that your adrenal system is fatigued. So let's get into some of not only the symptoms, but how this comes about over a period of time and how it breaks down. So what factors, if you will, would affect that adrenal system? It can be any stress pattern that's ongoing. It could be your perception, if you will, of something in the neighborhood that is not okay. Your neighborhood, your environment, your way of life. That it's your neighborhood, right? So I'll give you an example how things affect people differently. You and I go down the farm road, and we're walking, and I'm looking at all the trees and the bushes and the cows and the horses and all those things. Oh my God, this is such a beautiful, beautiful day. You're going down that farm road and you're saying, what am I doing here? What a piece of junk. I don't want to be near these animals. It's a perception, if you will, and fear begins to come in. That's going to be a direct effect to your fight-flight system, your adrenal system. It's an intentional situation. How many of you go and you see a snake and you freak out? I use that simply because a lot of people do that. Instead of getting curious and knowing that if you walk away from it, it's not going to bother you instead of staying frozen. Now, lack of sleep. We talked about that. Smoking of any sort whatsoever, vaping, particularly in today's world, your body's system is getting beat up. We talked about eating habits, repeated, ongoing lack of rest. We push, we push, we push. We fall asleep with the television on, old school, or we're in our pads, in our phones and so forth, new school. But those are the things that are taking place. Trauma of any kind and constant battering and, the inability to relax, negative attitudes about all kinds of stuff. Instead of accepting somebody else's position as being different, because we're a society of billions of people and we all have a different thought process, and understanding that we have different reflections on things based on our background, based on our heritage, based on how we grew up, where we grew up, the attitudes of those people, instead of trying to learn and understand. What we do then is we react, and you're wrong, I'm right. Now, if we find ourselves in that type of situation, it just gets progressively worse. How about if you got a bad relationship? How about you and your partner go to bed at night, and instead of saying, I love you, you're saying, you're a piece of crap in your brain, or you shut down, you don't talk, and do you think that's going to, be okay? It's not. It's one of the deepest and most profound stress patterns that you can have. How about an environment, whether it's a workplace environment or any place else that you go, and you're constantly in a state of combat? Not okay. That's going to cause your adrenal system to break down. We talked about eating habits. You've got to get proteins. You've got to eat on a regular basis. You've got to keep your blood sugar stable. Otherwise, that fight-flight system is going to get nailed. It's going to hit. Psychological stresses of your debt structure is way, way, way too high. How about if you just went through a separation? How about if somebody just died in your family? How about somebody that was close to you, a friend? You're at that age where a lot of people are leaving. Those are all major stress, and they just seem to stack, right? One on top of the other. Now, so where does all this end up? So all those things that affect that adrenal system, as we said, will affect what? It's going to affect your HPA axis. On the 22nd, we're going to show you how that is linked intimately one to the other. We're going to show you how if your adrenal system's not working, that hypothalamus, that H piece of the HPA axis, can't trigger the other pieces in your brain, particularly your pituitary, to downregulate and send signals to your gonads, send signals to your healing system, your antibody reactions, and so forth. All those things are critical relative to your body's being able to function at very high levels. Now, so if you're under stress, guess what? It's not going to work. It doesn't happen. So what can you take away from this? What can you say, listen, if I do this, maybe things will get different. Maybe it'll be, but it's not a magic wand. It's not going to happen overnight. First, if you have pain of any kind that is persistent, that doesn't go away, you need to get your butt into either the Roselle Center for Healing or give me a note, and I will refer you to somebody in your area that I trust, that I would send my own family to, that can get rid of this thing, and get you back to place. But that pain pattern just simply might be the accumulation of everything else that's taking place. You got to get some sleep. You have to. You got to go to bed the same time all the time in the setting that we talked about earlier. You've got to make sure you get enough protein. Don't go with one meal a day and then stuff the rest of it with candy bars and sodas and so forth just to give you that edge. Because what's going to happen is you're going to crash. You're going to go down so hard you're not going to be able to function. And then when you go into the pathological pieces of this adrenal stress pattern, Addison's disease and things of that nature, now you have real issues. We talk about, POTS, right? And that's, postural hypotension and tachycardia and so forth. And, that terminology POTS simply came about because it's a description of the symptoms that are associated. It has nothing to do with the why behind it, like unfortunately so many other diagnoses are. But if you understand that those fight-flight reactions, that irregular heartbeat, that standing up and wanting to pass out type of feeling or getting that swimming head feeling is a result of the inside portion of your adrenal system called what? The adrenal medulla. And it has very specific needs that sometimes we're not dealing with, and that you have a neurological network from the brain all the way down that helps trigger. And we're going to go over that on the 22nd. I'm going to show you how it works. But the adrenal gland And the pain-related situations are real. And if you're going to heal anything, you have to heal that system 100%, absolutely, without exception. So, to kind of recap a little bit, if we wanted to show you exactly why, we're going to look at the brain and we're going to look at all the things that affect that. Now, when you see the ongoing signs of adrenal fatigue, you're kind of finger pointing at, the digestive system, the heart, the immune system, the body relative. By the way, one that nobody thinks about, and when I see it, I know that it's there because I've seen it for so many years, is dry skin. When your skin is dry, no matter what you do and how you change it, how many oils that you consume and so forth, that's your fight-flight system. That's your adrenal system. If you want good skin, thick skin, instead of getting that paper crepey stuff that happens over a period of time, so I'm getting older. No, is that your adrenal system is beat up. So we want to be able to resolve things, but resolve from the place of their initiation and make that happen. So on the 22nd, I'm going to give you that. So please join me. It's going to be fun. I'm going to give you some things to go home with and to apply. We're going to give you some solutions that you can grab a hold of. We're going to tell you why that thyroid is not going to work unless you fix your adrenal system, no matter how many drugs you put in it. And even with the medication that you're taking now, was supposed to make you feel better and it doesn't. You wonder why. This is why. It's your HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary adrenal pathway. And that has to be taken care of. And, it's like the other day, a patient comes in, they said, well, I'm on this thyroid medication. My doctor did my blood tests and, it's fine, but I still don't feel good. Okay, so let me look at the blood test. Well, the margins in the blood tests are huge, and they're not meant as a diagnostic. They're meant to diagnose pathology. So when you look at somebody that's functionally not doing well, you have to look at the patient and all the other things that might be contributing to what's going on that's producing that hypothyroid condition. And as I said, and I've made mention of it, I think, a few weeks over the last month or so, is that the thyroid and the adrenal system need common types of nutrients. One is something called L-tyrosine. The adrenal medulla, the inside of the adrenal system, and the thyroid gland fight for that system. And if you don't have enough of it, both are going to kind of go down the tubes very quickly. That's where you get the irregular heartbeat and so forth and so on. So let's do this the right way. Let's get you out of that place where, you don't want to get up off the chair anymore. You don't have any energy. You wake up in the morning and it's like 2 hours before you have any energy. It lasts a short period of time. And by the way, here's another sign that your adrenal system is kind of going down the tubes and going into a low blood sugar crash. It's called hypoglycemic pathway problem. And what do I mean by that? So here's this. You get up in the morning and all of a sudden you get blurry headed right towards the end of the morning because you haven't eaten anything really except for maybe a cup of coffee. And now what you do is you sit down and say, I better get something to eat finally. So you shovel something in, and about a half hour to 45 minutes later, you feel like you're going to crash. You're just going to go to sleep and you're not going to wake up anymore. That's hypoglycemia, low blood sugar crash, due to your adrenal system not doing what it's supposed to be doing, because your adrenal system is responsible for something called glyconeogenesis. And that means that the transport of blood sugar into tissue. It stimulates the pancreas, produce insulin, and transport where it needs to go. But instead, what happens is your cortisol spikes and you crash and you want to go to sleep. Give me a couch, turn off the lights, I'm done. And you'll sit there. I've seen patients and staff members, by the way, they'll sit and have lunch with them and they'll eat and we're having a conversation. All of a sudden, their eyes are like half mashed. I'm saying, am I that boring? Maybe I am. I don't know. But that's what really takes place. So kind of do your own thing. We're coming up to that place where we're going to encourage you one more time to say, make sure you register right now, get it done, do it online. Go to drtomroselle.com, go to rosellecare.com, Join us on October the 22nd. Please reserve your seat. Do it now. The only thing that we ask you for is if you can't make it for whatever reason, then simply do this. Say, hey, I can't make it. Give us a call so we have a chair for somebody else. Remember, we're here continually giving you information ongoingly. One reason only. I love you all. You have a great day. See you soon. Bye.